Hi Krishna, how are you?
Yeah, hi, good morning.
Good morning. So let's give a couple of more minutes before we start up today. Okay, let's wait
Yeah,
if
sure.
someone else will join.
Sure, definitely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, hello Mohammed. Thanks for joining. So we will give a couple of more minutes and then we'll start up.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so let's get started. So welcome to this OCI training by UnoGeeks. It's a first session for your batch today. So let's start with my introduction and then following up with yours. So this is Hemant. I'm an OCI architect with 15 plus years of experience in top US-based consulting and product-based companies. I have specialized in Oracle Apps DBA for most of my career, and for past 6 years, I have been working with an OCI implementation specialist. So doing the foundations and provisioning the various Oracle Cloud services or resources, whatever you say. And most of these projects, which I worked after doing the foundation setups, and where I usually we create. Yeah, so I think we have some more joining in. Just give them a couple of more minutes then. Okay, so just for the interest of the new joins, I'll just repeat the things. Welcome everyone for this OCI training by UnoGeeks. It's the first session for your batch, and today we'll start with my introduction, following with your short introduction if you want to like. And this is Hemant. I'm an OCI architect with 15 plus years of experience in top US-based consulting and product-based companies. I have specialized in Oracle Apps DBA, and for past 6 plus years, I've been working as a implementation specialist for OCI. Okay, so if you would like to introduce yourself, please feel free and unmute yourself and let me know about you.
Yeah, hi Hemant. This is Krishna. I'm having around 10 plus years of IT experience. I'm working as a WebLogic admin.
Okay.
So I just want to learn OCA to get a better career.
Yeah, great.
So that's funny.
All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, hi, Hemant. This is Rashekar. I'm having 6 plus years of experience in testing side, and I'm new to Oracle.
Okay.
And I have to learn the course.
Cool.
So this,
Yeah. Thank you. We'll just give one more minute. If anyone would like to introduce, please feel free and unmute yourself. And
Hi, my name is Venkat. Actually, I'm working as a Linux administrator. So
it's good. So you're new to OCI, or you already have some experience in OCI?
no, I'm new to OCI.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, hi. This is Surender.
Hi, Surinder.
Yeah, hi. I have 16 years of experience and I'm a supply chain consultant Oracle.
Wow, that's
So
nice.
this, so this is the first time I'm attending this OCA. And I
Okay.
just would like to ask one question. So I saw two mails from you. One is OIC and another one is OCI.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between OCI and OIC?
OCI is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, where we will have the course discussing about the foundation part of creating the resources, how do you create the networking, how you install the servers, all the related stuff. And OIC is integration cloud.
Okay.
So that is a connector which you will be using as a tool to integrate your on-prem database or your any other databases to your cloud infrastructure kind of SaaS.
Okay. So it's basically it's OCI. It's like a DBA activity that administration.
OCI is admin activity. Yeah, core admin activity. It can be a DBA as well, who can now leverage and upgrade himself as an OCI administrator.
Okay.
If he has a DBA knowledge, that will be even better.
Okay. Okay. So for me, so I am a Oracle supply chain consultant.
Mhm.
So as per my role, so OIC is suitable, right, for me, not OCI.
Yeah.
What is your suggestion?
Yeah, OIC is suitable for you. You are a functional guy, right? Or
Yes, yes, I'm a
techno-functional?
functional. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Technical is very
Yeah.
limited knowledge.
Yeah.
Purely functional.
Yeah. So yeah, your role will suit more OIC than.
OIC. Okay. Okay. It's already over, right? I think it's already completed that class OIC.
I'm not sure about that.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Fine. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. If anyone else wants to give a short introduction, I'll give 1 more minute. Otherwise, we'll start.
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Mohammed.
Hi. Hi, my name is Mohammed Abdulalim and I am a fresher. So I just graduated from my BTech.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi Hemant, I have a question like so since you said like even to learn OCI, it is better to have knowledge on DBA as well, right? So we don't have knowledge on DBA, but
Not necessarily. No.
okay.
What I meant is, if you are a DBA, the question was it's for a DBA. No. If you are a DBA, that is even better. That's what I say, because you understand how you create the database and how you manage, right? So even if you are an application like WebLogic administrator, that is more advantage. Like you already know how to install the applications, how to do with your WebLogic servers. So same thing you will be doing on the which you are doing on an on-prem application servers. Here you will provision your application servers. You'll install your web servers on top of that.
Okay. And one more thing is like in my organization, right now they are doing some migrations, like a DBA, I think as DBA, I think from on-prem to cloud.
Okay.
So will you cover that one also in here?
So we'll have some part of a migration activity also, like how you generally do a lift and shift kind of thing from on-prem to OCI. We have some sessions on that as well. Yes.
Okay. And without DBA knowledge also, can we do that activity?
You should be able to do it without DBA knowledge as well. But if something really required for that particular application DBA skills, like there might be some specific task which you have to do. Like if you are talking about the EBS application, so you have some specific task which you have to perform in the database side. So those parts, if you have some knowledge, it will be better. But to create a database in OCI or to manage the database in OCI, like autonomous database or the normal DBCS database, for that, even if you don't have any knowledge, you can pick it up straight away from these sessions. So those normal maintenance part, you will be able to do it.
Okay. So here in OCI, is it OCI admin or OCI DevOps also will you cover here?
It's mostly the OCI admin. DevOps, we'll have one session like we just discussed what all the DevOps parts and the brief introduction for that, how you make use of some of the OCI CLI and SDKs, but we'll not go in depth of that. It's most the more onto the OCI infra part.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, we will also cover what all the things we are going to cover in this training session. So you'll have more understanding then.
Yeah, sure, Hemant.
All right. So thanks everyone for introducing yourselves. And if you have noticed, by default when you're connected, you are muted. So that is just to make sure that the session is not disturbed because of the background noises or something else. So whenever you feel free, whenever you have some questions, just feel free to unmute yourself and raise your hand to clarify your doubts. So that you can do on any of the sessions going forward. Okay. So, and mostly between the sessions, if I completed some topics, I'll give a short break. So there we can also have a discussion about the questions. And every end of the session also will give some time for the question and answers. Okay, so today we'll start with the introduction to the cloud computing and OCI. And today we'll start with a brief overview of cloud computing and its key advantages. And then we will dive into the specifics of OCI and start seeing with the definition of what is a global footprint. And we'll discuss about the OCI architecture, how the architecture is, and then we'll explore the various OCI services. So what all the OCI services which are available and what all the OCI offerings we have in that we will have a overview of this. And then we will see the distributed cloud, what all the different various models of the OCI. Okay, so let's start. To start with, what is a cloud computing? So we all know in simple terms, cloud computing is nothing but it allows us to rent the IT infrastructure instead of buying it. So in a very simple layman terms, so cloud computing is nothing but which allows us to rent the IT infrastructure instead of buying the infrastructure here. We are just renting it and we are using it and paying as whatever we use. And if we don't really require it, we just terminate that resource and we don't need to pay for that resource anymore. So to understand what is cloud computing all about, in a very layman thing, it's just like renting the IT infrastructure without buying it. So in regular terms, like in the regular scenario, like in an on-prem thing, where you have to invest a lots of expenditure or lots of money in terms of to procure new servers, and you have to maintain those servers. You have to invest so much of money in terms of the cooling, in terms of the network, and in terms of the hardware. So rather than investing heavily in these things, companies opt to access their compute power via internet or a cloud, so that they pay for it as they use it. So that is the most important reason why all the companies or all the customers started moving their journey towards the cloud instead of using their own infrastructure. If they don't have any restrictions from their compliance point of view, they started moving to the cloud, and they're making use of the resources, especially the performance side or on the payment side, where they just pay for what they use. So these cloud services are like servers, storages, database, network, software. So there are so many services which multiple cloud services now are offering. So they are called as cloud providers. So based on the requirement and based on the services available, customers are choosing the requirement based on the requirement, and they are moving to their respective cloud providers. As we've just discussed, cloud computing provides the speed, scalability, flexibility that the business is looking for to develop and innovate, and also support the business ID solution. So the latest cloud computings in the market today, they have very high speed networks, and they have the flexibility so that the moment if you want a new server, you can provision it. So unlike your traditional thing, so if you have to go for a new server, so that takes a lots of time to actually procure it and to bring it to your data center and then install it and then start using it. So you don't have all those headaches here when you're moving to your cloud instead of your traditional infrastructure. So some of the key cloud computing service providers are as on date Amazon, which is AWS, and you have Oracle with OCI, and Microsoft Azure, and Google Cloud Provider, which is GCP. So you have some of the key cloud providers which are very advanced, having advanced features these days. And today we'll see talk about the OCI, which is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So looking about some of the advantages of moving to the cloud and cloud computing, one of the most advantage point is the cost. So you can eliminate the capital expenses. You don't have to invest on your IT infrastructure, and you don't have to invest on all this servers, hardwares, or cooling things, or your IT infrastructure admin employees as well. So you are eliminating lots of cost here. So that is one of the most important point. And speed. So you can instantly provision space for development and testing. So when you talk about the speed, and in case of your normal regular data center, you have a traditional data center where you have hosted your applications, and you need a new disk in your on-prem servers. So in that scenario, to attach a new server, it takes to attach a new storage server or a storage disk to your existing servers, it takes lots of time. But coming to the cloud computing, so it is very instant, and you can expand your storage, and you can decrease your storage whenever you want, or increase your CPUs and decrease your CPUs. So that is very speed here, and one of the other advantage. And you can also globally scale. So that is nothing but if you have your region, so if you have your cloud region in, let's say, in some Middle East area, and you want to scale to a different region also, so you can go to UK region, and you can also procure some of the services from that region, and you can establish a connection between this region and that region, and you can expand your services in different region. So that is there. You can globally scale, and productivity, increased collaboration, predictable performance, and customer isolation. So you have more collaborated things. You have more productivity in cloud computing. You can predict your performance, so you can increase and you can also do a customer isolation. So in cloud, you don't need to actually be with all other customers. So you can also isolate your services. So use some dedicated virtual machines or bare metal servers, so that your servers are not shared with other customers. So you can isolate yourself in one of the region which you select. So that is available. And coming to a performance, better price, you'll get better performance for all the cloud native workloads. So these are all Gen 2, the latest hardwares which are being used to get the better performance in the cloud. And reliability. So most of the cloud providers, they are more reliable. They have multiple data centers. So even one center goes down, they have services up and running on the different centers. So they are always fault tolerant. They are highly scalable, and they are distributed systems. So behind the scenes, whenever they provide a service, they make sure that these services are highly available, and you don't have any outages in any kind of situation or any circumstance. So that these are some of the key advantages of cloud computing, and these are the reasons why the customers are now more inclined towards the cloud computing and moving their workloads to the cloud. And coming to OCI, so what is OCI? OCI is nothing but the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, and it's a next gen cloud infrastructure designed for high performance and reliability. And currently OCI is available globally from 41 cloud regions, and it is rapidly building more new regions. So it is already has 41 regions. It is available in different parts of the world, and they are also have some new regions which are upcoming in the next coming of months. OCI Next Gen Architecture enables fast and on-demand provisioning of over 80 cloud services. So in Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, they have the Next Gen Architecture, which enables you to fast and on-demand provisioning. So if you want to enable a new service, you can do it. And they have more than 80 cloud services. So they have different services in offering, and that can be provisioned on demand whenever you want. OCI enables easy migrations of enterprise applications like EBS, PeopleSoft, etc. to the cloud. And they have some default tools or free tools, which we call, which enables the customers to easily migrate their on-prem current EBS applications or PeopleSoft applications or databases to migrate it to the OCI. So they come up with some tools like ZDM, and they have some tools called like EBS Cloud Manager. ZDM is nothing but to migrate your database from on-premises to OCI, which helps the customers to easily migrate without much downtime, like which is called as zero downtime migration, ZDM. And you have EBS Cloud Manager, where you can migrate your EBS applications running on your on-prem along with your application and database easily to OCI. So these are some of the tools which are available in OCI. So OCI is giving their customers, so if they want to move to OCI, so they can make use of these tools as well. And OCI provides best support for hybrid architectures. Like if they have hybrid architecture is nothing but you have your on-prem production application or production database running, and you can create your DR in OCI. So your overall network layer will be something on your private data center, and some of your services are running on cloud. So this is in a hybrid architecture where you can keep your some of the services in cloud, or you can keep in a multi-cloud region as well. So that feasibility is also available in OCI. So if you see the global footprint of OCI as on date, which is on March 2023, as of now, you have 41 regions of OCI where you have the services available. So if you are in some of these regions, like you have Dubai, you have two regions here. One is Dubai, and in Middle East, you have Abu Dhabi. In India, you have Mumbai and Hyderabad. So these are the regions where you have the data centers of Oracle, and you can use the services from these regions. And you have Saudi, you have one in Jeddah, and one coming up. If you see the commercial plant, which is having a square box, and you have one coming up in Saudi Arabia, which is I think in Baghdad, and you have one coming up in Israel, and you have so many other in US already, which is Phoenix. You have Mexico, which is coming up, San Diego, Chicago, and so on. So if you see there, they also have 12 Azure interconnect regions. So they have a few regions which also have interconnect with Microsoft Azure, which is a different cloud provider. So they have a deal between Oracle and Microsoft, and they have certain regions which already have an interconnect connection availability between the OCI and Microsoft. So you see 12 regions like Phoenix, Sanjo, and Ashburn. You already have interconnect like Frankfurt, London. So in these regions, you can also available the Microsoft services along with OCI services using a multi-cloud architecture. So this is about the global footprint as on date of OCI. So this is a region which we typically call where we have a data center. So if you are a customer and you have to choose a region, and let's say you are a customer in Dubai, how you choose your region? So obviously you will choose your region to be, because you already have a region in Dubai. So you will go to a Dubai data center instead of going to an Abu Dhabi, or instead of going to Jeddah or some other place, or you don't go to Frankfurt, right? Because your region, which you have to keep it as the closest region. So you'll choose a region closest to yours, which will have a low latency and highest performance. So as close as you can be. So you go for that region, which gives you a lowest latency and highest performance. So the network is not having that latency in terms if you are going far away, and you have to select your region in such a way that it is always closest to you. And then comes the data residency and compliance policies. So if you are your customer, I mean, like you have some customer data in your data, and you have to follow some data compliances or some data residency policies based on your governancing part. In that case, you cannot keep your data in some other region or some other country. So you have to be in your own country. Then obviously you have to go with your own country where you have a data center. So if you don't have a data center, or if you don't have a region in your particular country, then you have to make sure that you are choosing as per your compliances. So you have to make a note of that. And if there are any restrictions, make sure you are going with those restrictions as well. And finally, the service available. So in all the regions, like we saw that there are more than 80 services available in OCI. So some of the services might not be available in the region. So if there are some new regions, they are provisioned. So they will come up with that new region with some basic services, let's say like 60 services or 70 services, which they have enabled in that particular region. And they might not have the particular service which you are looking for. So you have to check for the service availability, and based on that, if those services are available, and on all other factors, if they're fine, then you will choose the region, and then you will create your tenancy, and or you go for procuring the tenancy or taking the particular account. So that is how you select a region, and then you start creating your resources in that region and make use of that. Let's see about OCI architecture. So we know that this, you have a global footprint. When we saw this global footprint, you have a region. So we call this as a data center, but here we are denoting it as a region. So when you see the OCI architecture, so you start with a region, and in that region, a region is nothing but it's a localized geographic area. So it can be a region like Mumbai is a region, Hyderabad is a region. So it is nothing but it's comprised of one or more availability domains. So in one region, you have an availability domain. It's nothing but a data center, which is called as an availability domain. And a region is nothing but a localized geographical area. So Dubai is a region, Hyderabad is a region, and in that region, you have a availability domain. So what they have done in Oracle is, So whenever they create a region, like if they create a Mumbai as a region, so within this region, in this data center, they have created 3 different availability domains. So these are set of complete infrastructure, which is completely isolated with each other. It is not connected with, in terms of the hardware. So it is not a shared hardware. It's an independent hardware. Like if you have in a region, you have 3 data centers, and these 3 data centers are connected to each other by a low latency, high bandwidth network. So you don't see any latency between connecting to these 2 availability domains, but these are like isolated data centers. So if one data center goes down, so that will not impact anything with the other data center. So within a region, they always have 3 availability domains. That is the model what they are going with. So if at all they are giving some resources, like they have a network resource, or they have a storage server. Let's say if they have a storage, like some file storage, and you are using that service, which is a file storage service, and you are using this service to upload your data in this region. And if something goes wrong to the availability domain here, this particular file storage, whatever you are using, whatever the file storage underlying the hardware, is always getting replicated to a different availability domain as well. So that if this AD goes down, your particular service is still available from this AD. So the customer who is connecting to the region and he wants to access the files will always have access to those files. He will not see any outage because of the AD is down. So that is the idea of creating multiple availability domains, as well as for the customer also, if they want to create a database on 2 ADs, they can create so that their database is highly available. Even if one node goes down, the other node from a rack node, it will be up on a different data center, which is in a same region. So geographically, this is in the same place, but it is isolated data center within this region. So not all regions which we saw, like 41 regions, are having 3 availability domains. So to get started, what they have done, OCI, is to gain the region, to make the customers have the availability of the region. They started some of the regions with a single availability domain. So what they have done is, in single availability domain, also, if you see each availability domain, they have used 3 different fault domains. So they are like a grouping of hardware and infrastructure within an availability domain to provide anti-affinity. It's like if one fault domain fails, you will have another fault domain. So this is a logical data center. This is like a physical isolated data center when we talked about the ADs, right? So within an AD, they have again separated as a fault domain. So they do have a logical data center. So if even this FD goes down, they have another 2 FDs up and running. So in some of the regions where they don't have multiple ADs, the customers will still be able to use the high availability in terms of the FDs, or the services will be scaled up or distributed among these 2 other FDs as well. So each availability domain, even if there are 3 availability domains, you have each availability domain with 3 fault domains. So not only a single region which has 3 FDs, but any availability domain, they have 3 fault domains also. So that there will be, the services will be highly available. So just to understand, in the traditional normal case, in the In the on-premises, we just call this as a normal data center. So, but here they call it as a region. And within the region, they have availability domains, which are like a data centers. And they have 3 multiple ADs in each region. And some of the regions, which are the new upcoming regions, and they are just establishing those regions. So they just started with 1 availability domain, and they will start the other 2 availability domains going on. And each availability domain will have 3 different fault domains. So these are like logically separated data center within an availability domain. So the same logic goes on here as well. So that whatever the services they are offering, they are highly available across the region in any time. So any questions so far you have on the architecture? Okay, so let's move on. So coming to the availability domain, if you see, availability domains are isolated from each other. So each availability domain is isolated from other availability domain. So they are fault tolerant and very unlikely to fail simultaneously. So because availability domains do not share physical infrastructure such as power or cooling or internal availability domain network, a failure that impacts one AD is unlikely to impact the other availability domain. So if you have a multiple region, so this is multiple AD OCI region. So in this case, you have 3 availability domains, and if one AD goes down, you still have the other 2 availability domains up and running. So in case of Ashburn, or if you have going with Phoenix, Frankfurt, London, all these regions are having 3 ADs. So these ADs are isolated from each other, and they are fault tolerant and very unlikely to fail at any given point of time. And coming to the fault domains. So fault domain is each in individual availability domain. You have 3 fault domains. So every AD is having a fault domain. So fault domain acts as a logical data center. So inside the availability domain within an AD, and usage of multiple FDs reduces the correlation of failures within an AD. So if there is any issue with this logical data center, you will still have node FD2 or FD3 available. So resources placed in different FDs will not share single point of hardware failure, because same physical server, physical rack, and power rack switch are not distributed. So these are not used with the same FDs. So you have different physical servers and different physical racks and switches being used in these areas. So that if one physical service goes down here, and you have the same resources or services running on the other FD as well. So that is the overall idea. So each FD, each AD, as we discussed, has 3 FDs. And even if one FD goes down, you have the high availability. So they made sure that within a region, you have 3 ADs. And even if one AD goes down, you have 2 ADs. And even within the AD, they have kept 3 FDs. So that if even one FD goes down, you have 2 other FDs. So that is how strong they have built their architecture to make sure that all the services are highly available at any given point of time. So if you see, avoid single point of failure. So how you make sure that if you are creating a database or if you are creating a application, so how you make sure that at any given point of time, the service is available. Like you have to design your architecture to deploy instances that perform the same tasks. Like if you have a database, so on one AD in a region, let's say if you are in Frankfurt and you have 3 ADs in Frankfurt, and you will install your rack database in one AD, so that you have your rack DB node one fault domain, and you have a rack DB node in other fault domain. So this is all in your availability domain 1. So this we call it as a primary data center, and you have a standby. So if you have to create a standby, in this scenario, you can make use of availability domain 2, because this is a isolated and data center. It is not connected to your AD1. So you can place your standby databases in AD2, and even inside AD2, you will again place your node 1 in one node, one FD, and node 2 in a different FD. So that is how you avoid a single point of failure, so that even if you have an eval AD1 goes down, you can fail over to a second availability domain, which is available in that region. So same thing goes to the application node as well. So this is in terms if you are having a multiple AD. So this is how you leverage the resources and go with this kind of architecture. And in case of you have a single availability domain in that particular region, so instead of having a DR there, you make sure that you place your database in two different fault domains. So you create a rack database. One node will be in one fault domain, and other node will be on a different fault domain. Same thing goes with the application server also. So if this complete FD goes down, you will still have your services up and running from the second FD, where your application and database will be up and running. So whenever you design an architecture, so to avoid any single point of failure, so you can go with these kind of architecture, and they have made sure that it addresses the requirement of the customers so that their services are highly available all the time. So if you see the service models of OCI, so as of now, we are talking about the services. They have more than 80 services in OCI. So these are some of the service models which OCI offers. Like in traditional way, you have a customer on-prem private cloud. So this is an on-premises network where customer is managing their networking, and they're managing the storage, servers, and any virtualization they are doing on top of that servers. They have to take care of those things. And then comes the operating systems, patching the operating systems, and updating the operating systems. If they have some database, data, applications, web servers, everything in the normal customer on premises, customer is taking care of the private. So moving on the service models with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. So they have three service models. One is called Infrastructure as a Service, which is IaaS. And another one is Platform as a Service, which is PaaS. And then you have Software as a Service, which is SaaS. In these models, if you are going with IaaS, so our training is mostly on this IaaS part. So in IaaS, which is called as Infrastructure as a Service. So provider is nothing but the Oracle Cloud provider. So here OCI will be taking care of the networking, storage, servers, and virtualizations on top of the servers. So, and as a customer, if you are taking a IaaS account in OCI, so we have the responsibility of the OS, database, and the applications on top of the virtualizations or the servers. So we have to take care of provisioning the operating system. So we have to take care of provisioning the network part for this operating system. And if you are installing the database, everything is with the customer responsibility in this service model. So this is something like a shared service model. So you have some part with the Oracle provider, and some of the services you have to manage. And coming to the platform as a service, here even the operating system is managed by the cloud provider, and you have to manage your database and application. So this will be an example of your VMDB system, which is called DBaaS. And this comes under the PaaS as platform as service, where the operating system is also managed by the cloud provider, and you will only have to manage the database and the application on top of this. And then you have software as service, which is SaaS. So in this scenario, everything is managed by the cloud provider, which is OCI in this case. And you just have to use that application for your requirement. Like it can be a ERP application or it can be a HCM. There are many different applications available in the SaaS model. So these are some of the basics of the models which the OCI is offering. So if you just to understand on a higher level, so this is how it is. Coming to the OCI Core Services. So we've discussed so far, like they have more than 80 services. And these are the services which they are offering as part of IaaS or platform as a service or SaaS. So these services are again divided in 7 major categories. So they have divided them as a 7 major categories. So they named it as infrastructure and databases as one of the service, data and AI analytics, governance and administration, and you have developer services and you have application services. So they have different services. And if you distribute them as categories, so they come under infrastructure and they come under some of the services come under database. So just to easily understand, we have kept them in different, they have kept them in the different categories. So if you see in the very bottom, you have the infrastructure. So core infrastructure is nothing but the compute servers. So these are the servers which are like the bare metal servers or the virtual machines, the CPUs, the GPUs or HPCs. So these are the compute servers. So acts as the core primitives. And you have containers like Kubernetes, and you have OS VMware, virtual machines, compute services, which covers the virtual machines, and you have for the managed VMware services, and then you have storage and networking as well. So these all comes under the core infrastructures. So these servers, these 3 services are primarily for performing any calculations. You use the compute or containers. These 3 services, you will make use of them. Or if you have to run any applications, so you need a server, so you will provision a compute server so that you have a web server or some database installed on this compute. Or if you want to execute some logics, so you make use of this containers, Kubernetes. So these comes under the core infrastructure part. So the next one is the cloud storage, which includes the disk attached to any virtual machine. So if you have attached a disk to the virtual machines which you have provisioned in this as part of the compute, so you need a storage, right? So once you have a server, you have a storage comes into the picture. So you will be using this service where it will provide you the storage, like file storage. It can be a file storage. It can be an object storage, archive storage, or a database or a data migration service. So OCI offers a complete range of storage services for you to store and analyze your structured or unstructured data. So these are all like the storage services. So you have compute services, you have storage services, and then you have the networking services. Like this services lets you to start up your software-defined private networks in OCI. So whenever you have to create your private networks, so you have the network services which you will be using. And OCI provides the broadcast and deepest set of network services with the highest reliability, and you have most secure features, and you have the performance also, highest performance. So these are some of the core services which are available in OCI. So you have a region. So in this region, you have the core infrastructure services. So if you subscribe to one of the account, so you can start using of these services which are available in this region. And then moving on, the next part is the database services. So as we discussed in the core infrastructure here, so you have the database services. So this database services will have, again, like they have multiple flavors of database services, both Oracle and open source databases. And Oracle is the only cloud that runs autonomous database and multiple flavors of the autonomous database. So you see ATP, ADB as the database services you have in OCI. So this including like OLTP, you have OLAP, you have JSON, and you have Apex. And then you can also run database in virtual machines. You have VMDB system, which we have talked, and you have the bare metal service where you can use your database on a bare metal servers. You can make use of that service.
What is autonomous actually? What are autonomous?
It's an automated database service. So this is something completely driven automatically. So something which you don't have to manage yourself. If you have a database, you just provision the database, and it will be managed automatically by the OCI.
That
So
database should be on cloud, or
it is on cloud only. So all these services are on cloud.
Means let's say if I have a database which is on premises, can we consider it as autonomous?
No. You cannot consider that as an autonomous. So autonomous database is an offering which is available in your OCI. So if you are taking a subscription in OCI and you take an account, and then you will be able to create an autonomous database there. You can also create an autonomous database in a public cloud as a public cloud, but you need the cloud infrastructure in place to do this provisioning. So this is something, a service which is available in the cloud infrastructure only. Okay.
Okay. So ATP, ADW means.
Yeah, it is autonomous transaction processing, which is ATP, and ADW is autonomous data warehouse. So you have OLTP, which is for the transaction processing. You have ATP, and the data warehouse part, like for analytics, you have ADW. So there are two different flavors here.
So means how we need to use.
It depends on your workload. So if you are having if your application needs frequent commits, like if you have to use transactional processing database, so it depends on your application. Like if you are using an EBS application, so EBS application requires an OLTP, so it needs a transactional processing database. So in that case, you can go with an ATP, which has frequent queries, frequent commits, and regular transactions, high concurrence in that scenario. But data warehousing is nothing but if you have something like for the reporting analysis, if you don't need frequent access, if you have to build some reports on top of your data, so that comes in the BI thing or analytics part. So in that case, you will use data warehouse. So that depends on your workload, how you want to use your services. So based on that, you choose the service and you provision you procure or you subscribe to that service and you make use of that service in OCI.
Okay, one last question.
Yeah.
So who will decide which one to use, ATP, ADW? Who will normally decide this?
That's your if you have your team, like what application you are using and what is your custom build application based on your, if you have some custom application and that requires a OLTP or data warehousing model, it will be decided by your functional or your developer who develops that particular application.
Okay, so we need to ask them. Okay,
Yeah.
so accordingly, OCI.
You will be provisioning those services in OCI.
Okay, got it.
Okay,
so we have to put to them that.
Yeah, which service you need, whether you want ATP or ADW. And some of the applications by default say that you need this kind of database. like what I have given example in EBS, you have to provision a database, which is an OLTP model. You cannot use a data warehouse for EBS.
Got
Okay.
it.
Yeah. So you can also run open source databases such as MySQL or NoSQL in OCI. So that can also be done. So you can go with the NoSQL or MySQL, which is an open source database. So these are the services which comes under the database. And yeah.
So for that, we need to have separate connectivity, or is it?
It's all under the same infrastructure. So once you have the same tenancy, so on top of that, you will first create this comes under the core infra part. So you need a network to be created, a VCN to be created in place, and then you need some compute server. So where you will have your storage attached to the server, and then you create your NoSQL or MySQL on top of that. So this is all layered.
Okay.
Yeah. So moving on with data and AI. These services, we have managed Apache Spark services called Dataflow, a managed service of tracking data artifacts across the OCI called data catalog. You have data catalog here. And a managed service for data ingestion and ETL called data integration. And we also have a managed data science platform for machine learning model and training. So for any machine learning part, you have AI services, and they have also managed Apache Kafka services for some event streaming use cases. So if you have some event streaming kind of thing, so you can have these services as well. So just to understand like what all services are available in OCI. So I'm just going through these slides. So we just talked like there are 80 services or more than 80 services, right? So these are those services which are categorized in this way. So these are like the overall high level view of the services. But if you deep down into the services, you have more in detail. And then you have a governance and administration part, where these services includes the security, identity, and observability and management related services. So we have unique features like compartments in this governance and administrator, which comes under the cloud ops, and which are more easier way to manage large complex environments. So you create compartments to segregate those resources or the services which you are provisioning into it. So that is one of the feature which they are offering as part of compartments. And security is integrated into every aspect of the OCI. It is it's automatic detection or remediation. So what we typically refer to as a cloud security posture management, and it's a robust network protection. And you have what do you say, the encryption. You have encryption by default here. So whatever the services you are taking, so you have all those services have the encryption by default. And we have an integrated observability and management platform with features like logging analytics, and application performance management, and much more. So you have any logging you have to do on top of your computes, you'll be able to do, and you can do monitoring. So if you have your database service, you can monitor the CPU, how CPU is going up, how much the usage of the storage, how many active sessions are connected to the database. So all those comes under the management and observability services. And yeah, you have these services coming under the governance and administration part. And then under application, so you also have you also have developer services. So where you have low code, app dev, and infrastructure as code. So they have managed local services called Apex, so which you can make use of to develop as developing some application small applications which you have to create, deploy, and create it using this Apex. And managed, if you want to manage some Terraform scripts, services, and resource managers, you can use infrastructure as a code. Using this code, you can create your Terraform scripts, and you can provision the infrastructure using the Terraform or Ansible scripts. This all comes under the DevOps part. So you have various services here, which will be useful for the DevOps part. And coming to the application services, you have the analytics part. So here in analytics part, we have the managed serverless functions, events, and APIs. So if at all you want to use an event service to help creating any microservices or any event-driven architectures, so you'll be able to use it. So you have a comprehensive connected SaaS suite across the entire business, which will be used for your financial services or any human resources or supply chain manufacturing kind of thing. So it's a long list, which is divided in 7 categories. This is a high view or a high overview of the application services, which are distributed across the different regions. Or you have this whatever we call, I think they have more than 100 now as of now. They keep on adding new services. So these are the various services which are available in region. So some of the regions, when you are selecting a region, maybe some services may not be available. So that is why in one of the slides, when you choose a region, we said that you have to make sure that if you have these services also available in that region, you will go with that particular region. And OCI is the first cloud which offers a server for just a penny for one core CPU per hour. So it has very less cost in terms of comparison with the other cloud providers, and they have very less cost effective. I mean, they're very cheap when you compare the pricing of the other cloud with the same resources if you go with any other cloud distributor. Sorry, cloud provider.
So cost-wise, it is very less.
Very less, yeah, it's very less. So moving on with the distributed cloud, which means the cloud. I mean, the customers can get Oracle Cloud services in different ways. So they can get the cloud services using the public cloud, where they have the services in 41 global regions. So we saw that there are so many global regions. So using that, they can get to this cloud services, or they can go with a hybrid cloud service where they have dedicated cloud region like DRCC. In this region, they can go with their own on-prem kind of network where they can host their Exadata clouded customer, or they can go with the roving edge infrastructure, which is called as a hybrid cloud. So they have an on-prem network, and they go with the infrastructure to avail these services in their on-prem itself, which is a hybrid cloud model. And we have a dedicated cloud model which offers more than like 100 OCI services running on the customer data center. So in this case, this is called as a DRCC. We'll go through this in the next slide. And they also, the customers can also go with the multi-cloud. So as we discussed, OCI is already collaborating with the Microsoft. So they have interconnect Microsoft Azure, which has some of the services in offering with a different cloud provider as well. So all these services which we have discussed, so they can go with these kind of distributed cloud methods, and in different ways they can avail these services. Okay, so coming to the hybrid cloud service, the first offering we have is the dedicated region cloud at customer, which is like a private isolated region. So we will look into this in the next slide. And then we have a service which is called Oracle Cloud VMware solution. And here, what they do is they provide a VMware-based environment in OCI, using which you can migrate your on-prem VMs to the cloud in a seamless fashion. So they provide a VMware solution. So using this solution, you will be able to migrate your on-premises VMs. So for that, you can make use of this VMware solutions. And then you have you can use this autonomous DB on cloud on Exadata Cloud at customer. So this is an idea here. The idea here is to use all the advanced autonomous DB capabilities that are available in the OCI in your on-premises also. So like you have asked this question, right? Whether you will be able to use this on-prem or not. So not to your on-prem database you will be able to use, but using this cloud at customer service. So you can build your autonomous database on Exadata infrastructure running in your data center. So you can create your Exadata machines in collaborated with the OCI, and you can build your on-prem, which is called as cloud at customer, in your data center itself. So all the infrastructure is taken care by OCI in this scenario.
So these all things you will run through, or how is it like?
No, I'll go through that. What all we are going to run through in the next tomorrow's session. So what will this course will be covering? So we'll go through that session tomorrow.
Fine.
So these are the services which are available, is what I'm explaining as of now in OCI, for us to overall understand like what is cloud computing and what OCI and which regions OCI is having its global footprint, and what is OCI it's all about, and then what services OCI is offering, and in which ways the OCI services are getting distributed, how you can make use of these services. And then we will see tomorrow what exactly the course is about and what all things we will learn in this course, all those part. Okay. And then finally, they have an offering called roaming edge infrastructure, which is basically a dense portable compute storage, which is optimized server that has been that's like a regged to operate in a remote and remote environments kind of thing. And this is good for use cases where you want to process data and compute at edge in a remote disconnected fashion. So these are some of the hybrid cloud services which they have. And then
remote disconnected fashion means I didn't get on that.
If you want, if you don't want this servers to be accessed from some other open internet as well. So you want to be some government, some military kind of stuff which you are running here, or if you have some data which has to be highly protected, you don't want to be in an open network. So in that case, you have this roaming edge infrastructure, which is like a portable. You can destroy it anytime. It's like a compute storage. It's an optimized servers, which can be operated in a remote fashion. So this is all isolated network, which is provided by the OCI.
But how the services will run if you are not connected?
No, for that particular infrastructure, you will still have the customers connecting to them privately, but not if you're going with the OCI. See, if you are using the services here in the global footprint, what we are talking here in the previous scenario, one of the scenario, like right here in this availability domains. So if you are installing a compute instance here, so maybe your compute instance is here, and some other customer can also be able to use the same physical server. And if you are creating a virtual compute instance, maybe that physical server is being distributed to other customer also in this scenario. Until unless it is dedicated and it is isolated, it is not used for only your customer. So this AD is distributed for different customers, and all the data centers, all the other customers will also have their own data centers use this. Even though they have their own network, they have their VCNs, and they have their own isolated virtual connection here. They will still not be able to see the other customer data in this scenario. But if you are not comfortable with all the security features which are available here, in that scenario, you can still go with this kind of infrastructure, like this roving edge infrastructure. This is again based on some of the use cases only. So in those dedicated workloads, if you have that use case, then only you'll be going with this particular use case. So DRCC, as we discussed, this offering provides OCI public cloud services in a self-contained independent cloud region. Like if you have a bank data and they don't say that you are supposed to keep your data in OCI. So in that scenario, you have to use your data center in local on-premises only. So you create a customer data center, and in the same region, you will also you will ask the OCI provider, which is a cloud provider, will create a dedicated region, clouded customer. So they create their own racks, their physical infrastructure, along with your customer data center. And these things are maintained by the OCI. And all the features what you get in OCI, you will also get in this scenario. So that is the availability, and the maintenance of this infrastructure, everything is being done by the OCI. So that is the idea in that particular workloads where you cannot go with a public cloud, you have to go with a private cloud. So in your own data center of your choice, and this is an air gap offering, which means that a region can be fully disconnected from the outside network. So you don't have to connect from outside network in this scenario. So customer can start small and they can scale up to all the way up to 450 plus racks very quickly. So they can start up with a small 2 node racks, and then they can go up to 450 plus racks very quickly in this DRCC, which is called as a dedicated regional cloud at customer. And then you have a multi-cloud offerings. So this is nothing but Azure OCI Interconnect, which is recently launched in 2019, and Oracle and Microsoft have a private interconnect running between them. So if you have your database in your Oracle, you can also have your application running on your Microsoft Azure cloud, and they can be interconnected using a private interconnect. And they have fast connect, and they have express routes to be connected between these two cloud providers, and you can make use of the services. And these are the 12 Azure interconnect regions. So like which we have already saw in the previous slide, which are having this Azure interconnect symbol here. So these are some of the locations or regions where you already have the interconnect regions. So these 12 interconnect regions, they have only 2 millisecond latency. So if you have interconnection between the OCI and the Azure, so the latency is very less. It's only 2 milliseconds. And if you have any data flowing between these two regions, so the cost for the ingress and the outgoing data, incoming and outgoing traffic, has no charges. It is full of it's free. So you don't have to pay for the
no charge between the data.
No incoming and outgoing data between the Azure and the OCI.
Okay. So you mean to say even GBs of data and TBs of data also no charge?
Yeah, there'll be no charge between the interconnect.
No charge for the interconnect, but what is the charge that is actually applied?
So if you have a data going out of the out of this OCI, like if you have outgoing egress data, if you have an application and if you are trying to connect to that web application, in that case you have a data outflow, right? So that data egress charges you will have to. There will be
But when
some.
it is, but when it is going to Microsoft, that is cloud, that is Azure, you don't.
Yeah, you don't have
absolute
interconnect. It is interconnect. It is free. Yeah, whether it is incoming or outgoing. Yeah.
Okay.
And then they have recently launched this database service for Azure. So this is something from Microsoft Azure. You can provision this database service on OCI, and this will take care of your connectivity, and this will internally build the connectivity between the Azure and OCI, and it will provision the service from the Microsoft Azure to the OCI. So this is something which they have recently added. And as you see, there's no additional cost in terms of the connectivity or the data flow between these two cloud providers.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, that's all about the various cloud offerings and the various cloud services which we have in OCI. And we discussed about the regions, architecture of the OCI, and how the OCI operates in cloud, what all the different core services are available as part of the cloud infrastructure. So tomorrow, what we will see is we will go through the console. We will log into the OCI console and see all these services in the console, what all we have discussed as part of the core infrastructure or database service. And we will have a walkthrough on the OCI console, like what all features are available. And then we'll discuss about how you can create a free tenancy in OCI to make use of that tenancy for your lab practice. Like if you are going to start taking this training, and if you want to take a lab session, how you can create your own tenancy in OCI, which is free of cost for 30 days. And it is also have some of the service available always free as part of this free tenancy. And then we will go through the complete training sessions, like what all the modules will be covered as part of this OCI training. Okay, so let's connect tomorrow and continue the session.
I have a query. So
Yeah, yes.
learning the OCI will help learn the other clouds also, or how is it like? I'm just asking.
Yeah, see, if you understand the OCI concept, so each cloud provider might have a different terminology. So in OCI, they may call availability domains. So most of the cloud providers also call the domains as availability domains. Sometimes they may call it as a data center. Some providers are calling it as different. And in OCI, here they call the virtual cloud network, the VCN. They name it as a VCN, and maybe in Azure they call it as something different. They may call as a network. Some other naming conventions might be there. Otherwise, the idea behind creating the services using the cloud services will be the same across all the providers. To understand the cloud terminology, like how you have to provision a service, how this service is being praised, what will be the cost behind this service if you are provisioning the service. So that terms and that high level understanding will be same across all the cloud providers, but the navigation might be different in how you provision that. The steps may be different here and there.
Okay.
But once you understand one cloud provider, and then it will be much easier to understand the other cloud providers as well. But they may be having a different names, how they call it as. Maybe if we call it as something compartments here, they may call it as a different scenario, how they are segregating their resources.
So this course mainly focuses on the architect part or data engineer part? Which one?
This is mostly on the infrastructure part. So when you subscribe to a cloud tenancy, so you will get a normal empty cloud cloud account, right? So starting from the empty cloud account, how you will create your network resources, starting how you will use your network services to build your network layer. Like you create a VCN, you create a private subnets, public subnets, and on top of that, how you create your servers. If you have to use your servers for your WebLogic applications, if you are installing some BI applications or some other EBS applications, how you create your servers, how you provision the servers, and how you connect to those servers, how you establish a private connect between your on-premises to your OCI tenancy, how you establish the connection between your on-premises a network which you already have to your OCI, how you create the network topology, what should be your network architecture should be in this case, and then how you should place your application servers, how your application architecture should be in OCI, and you will go through the provisioning of the servers, provisioning of the network layer, and how you create the storage layer, and how you attach your storages to your servers. We will see all these hands-on, like how you create the VCNs, how you create the servers, how you create a local peering between your VCNs, what is about the remote peering connections between the VCNs. And then we will see about the database services, how you provision the database services, what are the different database services you have, those kind of things. So this is all most on the admin part of the OCI. So we can call it as an administrator part of the OCI.
So, okay, admin. So what is there is, I understand there are different levels, right? Like data engineer or architect, which one
this will fall under the OCI
architect.
Yeah.
So what is actually data engineer means? What it actually comprises. Actually, I just aware of some few things, not much into it.
So data engineering can be how you have, if you have some unstructured data or structured data, how you make use of that data, data flows kind of thing.
Okay, that is not part of this one.
No, that is not part of this.
Okay.
It's we are not doing any data processing or any data transformation. So data engineering is nothing but you have a volume of data, a collection of data, and that data is stored. So we will talk about how you can store the data in OCI. So what are the different storage availability, like object storage or the archival storage, or what the data warehouse, how you can create the data warehouse, and then these are the methods where you can store your data. But after storing your data, how you have to process the data, how you will be integrating the data, what all transformations you'll do on top of the data, that is not part of this course. Okay. So that is a part of your data quality and governance kind of course.
So security also you are covering, or
yeah, security we will cover on what all the security requirements we have to take care as part of your provisioning. Let's say if you have a web application server running on your public internet, so in that case, how you have to secure your web server.
No, I mean to say cloud security.
Cloud security also will cover that. Yeah. So cloud security, what all the security services which we saw the core services, right, in one of the slides. So
OCI gateway, API gateway, all those things.
APIs are like, what do you mean by APIs? Nothing but a DevOps thing, right?
Sorry, I cannot recollect your name. What's your name?
Hemant.
Hi, Hemant. I need to drop off. I got a call at 10 o'clock.
Yeah,
I'll
fine.
catch you up tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll have a session tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks. It's nice actually.
Yeah.
You are giving a good one. We'll talk more on that tomorrow. Better if you start early so that I can ask my questions.
Yeah, tomorrow. Yeah, we'll start at 8:30 only tomorrow. Yeah, so today we have waited for some 10 minutes for everyone to join.
No, I also joined late actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Hemant, what are the timings and course duration?
It will be from 8:30 to 9:30. The timings and the duration will be around 6 to 7 weeks between that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And after completing this course, can we apply for directly on OCI jobs?
Yes.
Can we get complete real-time scenarios right here?
Yeah. You will get a real-time scenario. In this course, we will mostly focus on the migrations, like how you migrate the database from on-prem to OCI. So there we will have a hands-on sessions as well. So assuming how you have to do a real-time migration and your real-time provisioning, we will be doing everything hands-on. We will create the network layers as we have discussed just now, creating the VCNs, creating the compute instances, creating the database services. Everything will be, most of the sessions will be a hands-on only. We will be discussing less on the PPTs, but doing more on the lab sessions.
Okay. So we will get a free account, right? OCI free account. But in that, can we get all services or any limited access would be there?
You will be able to get all the services in the first 30 days. So you'll have some universal credits, some $300 or $400. So you can make use of those credits and create your services using that. You can provision your services and make use of that. And after that first 30 days, you'll not be able to use all those services, but you still have some of the services which are always free. Like some autonomous database will be free, and some storage, some compute servers will be always free, which you'll be able to make use of them.
Okay. Yeah. So we can apply for architect and admin, right? For both the roles.
Yeah. You can apply for OCI admin architect role.
So during this course, are you going to provide any PDF?
Yeah. So all the PPTs, all the PowerPoint presentations, or any lab session, what we are doing, they have some notepad or some work related thing which we are doing in the lab. So those things will be given to you along with the complete recording of the session. So you'll get the recording of the session as well as the PowerPoint slides and any other lab session we are doing there. So any notes we are taking during the lab session will be shared with you.
Also for migration lab, are you going to show with any tools, or it is a?
Yeah, we will be showing it with the EBS Cloud Manager tool. So we'll have that in detail. What we'll be showing it tomorrow when we'll go with the walkthrough session of the course content. So yeah, it will be there as part of your Cloud Manager tool, which will be used to migrate the on-prem application to OCI.
Okay, it's Monday to Friday sessions, right?
Yeah, it's Monday to Friday. There's no session on Saturdays and Sundays.
Okay.
So yeah, we'll go in depth, in detail on the course. So migration part is also covered. And you have also some other important things covered as part of the use cases. Any other questions you have? Otherwise, we are good. We are actually already overrunning the session.
Yeah,
I'm sorry for that. Yeah,
I'm good from my side.
Okay, so let's catch up tomorrow at 8:30, and we'll have OCI console walkthrough, and then we'll discuss about the content of the core and how we have to create this OCI free tenancy as well. So we'll see all those things tomorrow. Okay, have a nice day and catch you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you.